There are a lot more people in this community that are awaiting transplant or who have received a transplant that you would ever begin to imagine.
I had a liver transplant and it's been 12 years ago.
I received a heart 6.5 years ago.
I have had 2 liver transplants.
I had a heart transplant on December 15th, 2002.
I had a liver transplant back in the year of 1993.
I've had my heart for 14 years.
Yeah, I think people don't realize that there's so many people out there just waiting every day and hoping and praying that that phone call comes through, that there's an organ for them. And we're just not thinking about that. But that's reality.
I waited 5 months to get my new heart.
There are so many people waiting on lists, dying on lists, because organs are not available.
I was on the list for 4.5 years.
When I was told that I needed a heart transplant, basically it was quite a shock to me.
I never thought that I was going to be the one.
It was so sudden.
I was in disbelief.
Everything just changes in an instant.
I knew I needed it, but I didn't think one would ever come.
I was a home health nurse and I was in the hospital more often than my patients were.
I never thought it would happen.
Very scary, and the hard part too was I knew that someone else was going to have to die for my son to survive, and you don't want that to happen, so you just pray that if someone else does lose their life that they will decide to give the gift to save J-MEE's.
And I think people really need to think about it before they're in a situation, because my understanding is that a lot of times what happens is people are just so grief-stricken at the hospital that they just kind of can't think of one other thing, and they don't realize how comforting it will be after. People are dying every day waiting for an organ, and you know, if you or a loved one can save that person, I can't imagine why you wouldn't want to.
When I think about organ donation, especially from the perspective of the donor family that has made the decision to donate the organs of their loved one, it's really a new beginning. It's a new beginning for the recipient, it's a new beginning for their family, but it's also a new beginning for the donor family. Organ donation is truly a new beginning for everyone.
Our son was Leo Scott Endress, and he was 30 years old.
Our son had a brain aneurysm, and he wasn't expected to live.
My husband said, "Do you think we should donate his heart?"
14 years to me has been a total gift.
It's like our son lives on in other people.
John would not have lived another year. They had told us that.
You have the recipients that give you some of that back, some of your son back.
And that it is the greatest gift he can give anybody. And he did it.
God is about life and love. And the gift of life is a gift of love.
And so our understanding really is that it should be something that should be used for the well-being of others, that our life is really a gift from Him to give to others.
It was amazing how fast we came together on that decision as a family.
So we're just happy that, that the people received them and are doing fine.
It was because of Leo's organs.
To be able to help someone else that has questions, that has fears, I felt it was maybe not a duty of mine, but just something I really wanted to do.
And Vernon Memorial Healthcare's Transplant Support Group was born from that. Our main mission is education and awareness. We believe that without people really understanding that organ transplant is something that happens, whether we have it planned or not, that it does occur, and it occurs close to home.
I think it's very important that Vernon Memorial supports this transplant group because we actually see the results in our small communities. We know the people that are receiving these transplants.
Everybody gets to discuss what they're doing, how they're feeling, what's been going on in their life.
Anyone can come to the transplant support meetings.
We want to Be able to aid people emotionally, intellectually, and financially.
Because you see firsthand the benefits of what organ donation can do for a family and for a life.
The best thing people can do as a way to support the transplant support group and to support the issue of organ donation is to get involved.
There is a website called yesiwillwisconsin.com. You can go there, you can find information about organ donation.
One thing people can do when they get their driver's license or renew their driver's license is to indicate on there that they will become an organ donor. And a critical step is, of course, to inform your loved ones and your family of your desire to do that.
Yes, it's so important that we talk about it ahead of time. What our desires, what our wishes are, what would we want to do.
If they talk to each other in an honest and open way that allows them to understand the value that each of them has for the other, that can be helpful in the grieving process when death does occur. It can also be helpful in the decision-making process about donating organs for transplant.
If you haven't really ever thought about it, picture the fact that you're not going to need them and someone else is dying for them.
One person can donate several organs and thereby help several people.
Don't take your organs to heaven. Heaven knows we need them here.
You don't need your organs when you're gone, but someone else does.
My work at Vernon Memorial Healthcare is really a gift because I get to see the families before they receive a transplant, the patient before they receive a transplant. I get to see them after they've received their transplant and the new life they have. And I get to see the bond that's formed between the donor family and the recipients families.
You know, we knew that our son was dying. I think for me, that's all I could think about that day, was just holding on to that. Maybe he can donate his organs.
We didn't think twice about it.
For me, it really was no decision. In fact, even before we were approached by people at the hospital, I think we both thought about it and then approached them.
So at a time in their life that's absolutely devastating, they made a very selfless decision and donated all of their son's organs.
But here we had this wonderful possibility that maybe he could help someone else.
We knew that Emma's liver had come from a 1-year-old male child who had died of meningitis.
Fairly soon afterwards, we learned that there was a little girl who had Andrew's liver and was doing well.
I think for our donor family, for them to first see Emma, really helped in their healing process.
For me, it was really emotional, and I think even just thinking about it makes me want to cry. I was pregnant. I think I was about 6 months pregnant, and she was just turning a year old.
I remember Jeanette, the mom, asked if she could touch Emma's belly because that was a part of her son.
I wanted to touch her belly. Yeah, see her scar.
You know, it's still very emotional to this day.
Here was this family who didn't have to go through what we went because of our son. Bill told us she had maybe 2 weeks to live without that liver.
But of course, Emma wouldn't even be here without their decision to do that.
Because we donated Andrew's organs, there's a little girl alive today who would have been dead otherwise.
And we could always know that Andrew was the one who made that happen. It was so clear how much they appreciated Andrew.
Our picture of Andrew is above our mantelpiece, framed, and it stays there.
And knowing that they have it there in their house really means a lot to us.
That picture is probably one of the most important we have in our home.
Because without Andrew becoming an organ donor, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have gotten a liver. I have the gift of life. Well, I think it's really important to become an organ donor because you think of all the people in the United States or even the world that need transplants, and there's more people on that list than there are organs. And if you become an organ donor, you give a gift of life. You give another person a chance to live.